My name's Shelly Davies. I'm an Associate Assistant Head Teacher at Pencoed Comprehensive School and Expressive Arts Lead. When I started my own journey into understanding anti-racism, I realised that I actually didn't know anything at all. And if I was going to lead on it in a school, I needed to develop my own understanding of it and what that meant in the school and what it meant for our learners and for our staff as well. DARPL have supported with that sort of the whole way through, really. Meeting Leon, he was a voice of reckoning. He was really understanding, but actually posed some really important questions for us as a school, and what our understanding of what that actually meant to be anti-racist. For myself then, it meant that I had to go away and really learn and read and understand about what it meant in a school, but why it was so important for us as a community, why it was important for our learners. And one of the first things that Leon actually said to us was like, well, what are your learners' lived experiences? And we realised that we didn't know anything. We didn't have any understanding of what it meant in our community, and what our learners were living on a day-to-day basis. I think DARPL have not just provided us with professional learning in school, but sort of posed those questions to us. They've challenged our thinking, and by doing that, they're making us, understand it to a greater level, really. Okay, I think what's changed for myself, and certainly what we're really starting to see, is that other learners are challenging racism openly within the classroom. What we've put in place in terms of how to deal with racism, not just sort of like in a punitive way, but an educational way. So when we're having racist incidents in school, we're ensuring that we're then educating the perpetrator to make sure that they understand how they've been racist and how then moving forward to ensure that it doesn't happen again. What we're starting to see is that actually learners within classroom environments are challenging it and saying, we're not accepting this, that they're actually saying to teachers that this has happened, that they're reporting the incidents more. What we found is when we, I suppose, started is that we've had an increase in racist incidents being reported. And I think what's happening is not that suddenly we've become more racist, is actually we're now dealing with it. We're actually challenging it. Learners are reporting it and staff are reporting it. And that means that actually we're now doing something about it. So whilst it may seem like suddenly you've got lots and lots of racism, I think actually what's happening is that we're now feeling more empowered and embodied to actually do something about it. Yeah, I think what I've really noticed with the staff at school is when I initially started doing this, I was really apprehensive about how I was going to lead this in a school. I come from a very privileged, middle-class position as a white female, and I was thinking, well, I feel like a massive imposter actually trying to lead on this. And I wasn't sure how staff were going to accept it or how staff were going to understand it. And I think it's probably one of the most challenging things in my career that I've had to sort of lead on. I was really, I suppose, pleased and overwhelmed actually at the support from staff and actually the conversations that people had about it. People coming up to you in a corridor going, I hadn't realised this. I'd never thought about it in this way. Members of our support staff came up and were really enthused about discussing it and talking about it. I've given a number of sort of reading materials out because people are like, oh, I'd love to know more about it. I'd love to find out more about it. And I think just that willingness from staff to learn as well. I think we talk a lot about that teaching is a lifelong career of learning. And actually, I think this is one of the things that so many people have realised that we know so little about, and that actually we have to build that understanding, and we're building that together. And I think that people haven't been afraid to do that. So that's been one of the, really sort of great things about sort of building on this. So DARPL have supported us through a number of professional learning activities. We joined the DAN network last year, and as part of that, we've been provided with a whole range of sort of different professional learning activities. DARPL came out to the school in November and they ran a whole staff inset, and that was a really valuable experience for our staff. It provided us with a really good understanding of being anti-racist and developing anti-racism, but it also provided us with, why that was so important and why it's so important for Wales as well. As being part of the DAN network, we've had the opportunity to take part in a number of professional learning activities through looking at decolonising the curriculum, dealing with racism in school, and just building that network of schools as well has been really important to understand that we're not going through it alone, that we've got lots of other schools and networks that we can link in with. And that's been one of the most valuable things, actually, is the chance to sort of network with other people in other schools to build that community. when DARPL sort of initially came out and visited us, the learners were really the most important things that they talked about and said, you know, it's really important to build that understanding of what anti-racism is and what racism is in your community and the lived experiences of your learners. And actually, our learner voice has really shaped everything that we've done in school. We put together our PARC group, which is our Pencoed Anti-Racist Champions. And that group has really driven the direction that we've taken. Their voices, their experiences were shared with staff, and staff started to develop that understanding of what our learners were dealing with on a day-to-day basis. Learners didn't always feel that staff were challenging racism, and staff felt that they weren't able to, and they didn't feel that they understood how to. And actually, our learner voices really formed what we've done. And I think the learners are now starting to feel that actually, as a school, we're taking a stand and we're starting to do things, and they're feeling that their voices are really being heard. Our learners have also started working within our community of primary schools as well. So they've been going out doing assemblies within the primary school, talking to primary school learners, because what they realised that is if we were going to make a difference and if we were actually going to change things for the better, that we needed to really start as young as we could. So we were building that consistent message all the way through. The best part of being part of the PARC group is the learners. I mean, it's probably my favourite thing is working with these learners. And actually, it's probably one of the things I'm proudest of that I've done in my career in a number of years, that actually I feel like it is making a huge difference. And whilst it might not make a difference straight away, I think what we've been working on over the last couple of years, we're starting to see a change in school. We're starting to see a change in mindset. We're seeing a willingness from staff and from students to talk about race and to talk about racism and to challenge things. I like the fact that now the learners will come to me and they'll go, I've got a really good idea, or this has happened, or they're just such a dynamic group of students. And, you know, I think what's been really great as well is that the traction that they've had amongst the community and amongst other schools and other people contacting us for our learners to go out and talk to them. And that's been really great because it's not me going out talking to them. It's not us as school leaders doing it. It's actually our learners doing it, and our learners' voices are really starting to change things. So being part of the PARC group is just, it's a real privilege. And actually working with our kids is a real privilege. So we've got a few things now which are on our school improvement plan for our anti-racist journey. One of the big things that we're developing is our Pencoed anti-racist mission statement, and within that as well building our Pencoed policy for anti-racism. That's really, we're looking at that as a collaborative approach across our primary school clusters as well, so that we're developing that consistency all the way through from when they go from primary to us in secondary as well. We're also starting to build our network of including parents in it as well, and looking to build that collaboration with parents in the community as well. So we've got an understanding of what their experiences are as well. We've started to look at our decolonising of the curriculum. So there's some areas where, you know, are further ahead than others, and really starting to provide that support for subjects where they need further support in order to do that. I think teachers have to accept that maybe we haven't always got things right. And I think that's probably quite difficult to realise that actually when we've been teaching certain subjects, or when we've been learning about certain things or delivering things to learners, that actually we haven't always been doing this from an anti-racist lens. Certainly I've looked at a lot of things that I've taught in the past and discussed in the past and realised that actually I was doing it with a naivety, and I wasn't doing it from an understanding of how that would be perceived from other communities and from other people as well. And I think that's one of the things that, I found really sort of humbling, is actually that they've come and openly talked about how we've taught them certain things, and how actually we need to readdress those things and look at those things from a different lens in order to provide our learners with a really equitable curriculum, which is suitable for the future that we're bringing them into. I think the best way to promote anti-racism is to really look at your curriculum and to look at what you've got on offer within your curriculum, and not just within your classrooms, not just what you're teaching within your classrooms, but the opportunities that you provide across the school as well. What opportunities do learners have to celebrate their communities, to celebrate the cultures that they come from, to talk about their diverse upbringings, to also look at, the reading material that you've got within the school, to look at your environment. Is there places within your school school that actually allow learners to celebrate and to think about what it is to be a learner in 21st century Wales. Something that we're really proud of in our school is our Aspiration Alley, and it's where our learners curated the space. They thought about what went in it, they thought about the representation of what was going in it, and actually how that fed into their curriculum in certain areas. And it's something that actually our learners across the school have taken a massive pride in. And I think, looking at your curriculum, really thinking about what you expose learners to and how you would provide those really strong opportunities to make those links across the curriculum is a really good way of building the anti-racist message. I think if I had any message for school leaders, it's really to sort of be brave about it. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of worry. People are scared about talking about race, they're scared about challenging it, and they're scared, of saying the wrong thing, but nobody will knowingly say the wrong thing. And I think for our learners, it's really important to sit down and listen to what their experiences are, to not brush it under the carpet, and actually to say to them, look, what do you feel like we need to do? It was our learner voices that changed how we dealt with racism in school. It's our learner voices which have really helped to shape our curriculum, and it's our learner voices which are really driving it forward. I think I'd like teachers, in order to support learners from the global majority, to really listen to them, to listen to their experiences, to listen to their stories. They're not comfortable stories, some of them, and actually some of them are really upsetting, and actually some of them are really humbling. But I think unless we listen to them, unless we allow our learners to talk about them openly, then we're not going to make a difference. Some of the stories that our learners brought to them, and when we put our PARC group together, bringing our learners together from the global majority provided them with a really, not just a safe space, but a really brave space to have conversations surrounding racism and surrounding their experiences in our school. And that was really difficult to listen to. It was really difficult to actually hear what they were saying was happening in our school community and hear what was happening in the wider community. But until we sat and did that, and until we sat and really listened to them and understood what their experiences were, we weren't in a position to make a change. We weren't in a position to actually understand it. And then by understanding it, we have now been able to develop our curriculum to look at, how we deal with racism. We've looked at how we, build and promote certain things within schools. A lot of our learners didn't like the way that we would just do Black History Month, but not think about Black history throughout, the rest of the year. And that's something we made a really conscious change as a school to look at as well. So I think, being brave and talking to the students and talking to the people within your community is just a really, really important way to build an understanding.